What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Off Angle Podcast. We're here. We're a member short, but that's okay. We got the core three, you know.
Poor Joshy. What's Josh
Poor
doing?
Josh.
Where's he at? He's with his
Hello,
family,
Josh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got some family things to attend to.
Watching over some pugs, and I'm not talking face it.
Right? That is true. He has two dogs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were gonna record last night, and he was laying in bed with the worst lighting of all time and two pugs next to him. So,
But
decided
boy,
to
did he
chalk
look.
that one. We didn't run that one back.
He looked comfy though. I'll give
He
him
did look
that.
comfy. How's everybody's week? I guess in weekend recap. Let's do a quick little. How are the fellas?
I'm doing pretty all right. It was my buddy's birthday over the weekend. Had some fun celebrating that.
Okay, Spen.
Same here. Went back, celebrated a little bit of my belated birthday with the fam, and watched some good Counter-Strike over the weekends too. So it's always
Watch
good.
some Counter-Strike. There's some good CS. Just a quick recap because I
A
know
lot of good CS.
we had somebody ask us in episode 1. We're currently 2-2 in Maine. Somebody wanted live updates. We're 2-2. Didn't start off the way we wanted to. We have a game tonight versus Shama. We're hoping to be 3-2. But we're feeling good.
Yeah.
We're feeling good. Good practice day yesterday.
Oh yeah, feeling
We're
good.
feeling smooth. All right, let's hop into topic number 1, whatever it may be. Oh, I'm good too, by the way.
Oh.
I'm good too, guys.
We can gloss
All
over
right.
that.
I mean, I think there's something that's been pretty present in the CS space for this last 2 weeks, and that's Blast Bounty. We didn't really get to do like a deep dive into it in the podcast prior, but let's get a nice little recap going, I think. Talk about any matchups or upsets that we found really
Is
impactful
Donk
throughout the
player of
tournament.
the year for 2025.
I mean,
Like,
he's
do we just give
he's
him
starting.
First of all, can we just go a round table? What do we think of the format? New, innovative format from Blast. First time ever seen. What do we think?
I really, really like it. I think it's a really good like start of season format. It's fun. It changes things up. It should be like the first event after the Austin Major as well, I believe.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that means like there's always going to be these off-season roster moves, and these teams are going to be able to jump into these online matches very quickly and have some fun, in my opinion. I think a lot of teams will probably continue to use it as like a practice tournament, so to speak, because the prize pool isn't like crazy unless you go for like a really deep run. But all in all, I think you get some really fun matchups. I really do like the bounty aspect. I do wish a lot of teams wagered more because that was
Yeah,
an
that's kind of
option.
lame.
I think Spirit was the only team that was constantly like, yo, yeah, let's put up more money. And like, I get it. If you're facing Spirit, you might not want to do that. But if you're Navi, come on, man. In that semifinal matchup, you're telling me you're not putting up another $7,500? Gotta have some confidence.
Yeah,
Probably
I
Emo's
liked it
call.
a lot. I like my favorite part was when you get to the point where it's like, okay, teams. So the way the seeding works is you get to pick your matchup from as a lower seed. I
Mhm.
really like that just from the perspective of like, let's see your team who's probably not gonna get out of the first round, but for whatever reason you have, I don't know, G2's number. Just adds that element of like, maybe they can go on a run if they're high enough seed, they get their matchup. I liked it. The one thing I was actually reversing you guys is I didn't expect teams to use the bounty that much. And like, I don't know if it was just on socials. I kind of seen a lot of people like, why are, this team being weird and not doing bounty? I was like, dude, that's probably like how much they make in a month's salary. Like for a lot of these like lower echelon, so the Navi one I get, but like if you're a team who's just barely there and you're getting gifted this like, however much it may be, may not seem like a
Mhm.
crazy grand number, but like, dude, maybe that's a guy's rent or like his car payment. You know what I mean? Like you never
No,
really
no,
know,
you're
especially at that
definitely
level.
right.
So that's the one thing I was like, I like the concept, especially if you're Spirit and you're just like, I'm doing it, I don't care. But I understand why a different team wouldn't. Like, I don't know, if I'm not a top 5 team, I might not. Top 10, I
Oh
Right.
yeah, it adds a lot of elements because in the same light, like if you're a team like Bait, for example,
Mm.
they picked G2 pretty early on
Yeah.
because they thought like, who cares? We came into this tournament as a big underdog. We might as well swing for G2 because they had like one of the highest bounties, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like I like that aspect as like just made a roster change. That's why I also like how the other one's going to be after the major because there's going to be more roster changes.
Right.
And the fact that there's like these unstable rosters that these lower level teams that have been grinding and have been practicing together for a while can now come in and take jabs. Like we saw a good couple upsets here, and it just adds another element. It also adds rivalries, so like teams constantly picking other teams, stuff like that. It's talked about a lot in like traditional sports circles, like especially the NBA circles I'm in. Like it's talked about like in the playoffs we can reseed that the top 4 seeds get a pick
Pick
the
your
bottom
opponent.
seeds.
Yeah.
And this way's cool too though, like where the lower seeds pick the top.
I also just feel
That's more
like
for
on that
advantages,
note,
but
like if you're a bottom team, wasn't G2 kind of the consensus? Like they took the biggest roster hit. You kind of have to like go for G2.
out of the top
Like,
3,
like
4,
Like
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
right, like with the bounty number, and then it's like, okay, well they lost Nico. Like, yeah, sure, they brought in Heavy God. You don't know, they lost their second biggest voice probably, and their second best player. Like, I don't know, that kind of made sense to me. I don't think it was
yeah.
like a Hail Mary swing for the fences. You know what I mean?
I mean, that was a very close series.
Yeah,
That
very
went 3
close.
maps, and the last map was 13-11. I was
Yeah.
just watching that, rooting for bait. So like,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. Kind of to build off of what you said earlier, Jay, though, like something that I thought was really interesting is like, so FlyQuest picked MIBR, I believe.
Mhm.
Or sorry, MIBR picked FlyQuest, my mistake. Which they've played like twice prior to this matchup, one time at the major and one time before that. And both times MIBR 2-0'd them. And they were like pretty
Okay.
dominant wins. So it's like MIBR is like picking FlyQuest because they're like, hey, we have their number, kind of like what you talked about. FlyQuest, obviously, with the pickup of Regali,
Yeah.
flipped that on their head,
Mhm.
right? 2-0's them, and pretty, I think they were both close matches. Or no, actually, it was pretty
13-9,
dominant.
13-6.
Yeah, 13-9, 13-6, pretty dominant. So I think I'm liking that aspect. And I think the more of these tournaments that we have, the more we're going to get these rivalries and these like picking specific opponents and
Yeah.
kind of going back and forth in a lot of really fun interactions like that.
My favorite part was, I don't know who it was interviewing someone on Imperial FE. He's like, so you picked Navi, like that's kind of crazy. And she's like, we didn't really have a choice. We had like the last pick.
Yeah.
No, they
I think they had
chose
the
Navi
second
pretty
last.
early on, actually.
No, I don't think so.
They had the 24th seed
They
of
were
the
like
32 teams.
Yeah, they weren't too low.
They were pretty early
Was
on
it?
Navi pick.
I remember from an interview very vividly where she was like, we had to pick between like them and Vitality or something. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't recall which player it was. It was pretty fun. It stuck
No,
out to me. It
they're
was pretty funny.
yeah. I think you're thinking of maybe Meziport. I think they had to pick between like Spirit and Vitality. They're also a green team.
Possibly, but I'm pretty sure I would remember it being the only female team there.
Again, I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Anyways, like again, the format was really cool. I think there's some small things they can do to like enhance it a little bit.
Of course.
But no, I don't know. I think especially for like turnover rosters where like we're going into brand new seasons, it's such a cool idea.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a good first
Like-
event.
Yeah, I do think like a proper audience for the finals would be cool.
I
Yeah,
agree with that. That's
of
my
course.
biggest thing is they kept overhyping or I guess adequately hyping this like new Blast Studio, but it's like you're in finals, you're in a best of 5, and there's no noise besides Donk screaming. Like, I want a little bit more, you know?
No,
Or
no,
that
no, no.
Shiro
Shiro.
scream.
Shiro screaming. Yeah.
One hand in the air.
That was so funny.
It's a victory
But,
cry.
speaking on Imperial FE, honestly, they impressed me.
Me too.
I agree. They were actually very good. Like I thought
Like, sorry, go.
no, I was like when you look at you're watching the POVs, first of all, like I don't know if this is kind of messed up to say, but I was expecting to see more of a like disparity in terms of just raw skill. And like there was a disparity, but it wasn't like mind jumping. Like it was like jumping off the page. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
No,
watching
they
them and
could like I was surprised how good all of them held their own.
there wasn't
like-
one person on that team who was like struggling to find kills
Yeah,
or like
or getting picked on.
and
Mhm.
I specifically on the ancient as well. Like there was some really really good ideas and like
And
some
a lot of
really,
close
really good
rounds.
set calls, close rounds. They had one set call where they, if I remember correctly, it was like they did an A exec the round prior. I think it might have been on the second gun round to their T side, and then the following round they threw the same exec, but it was a fake into B, and they pulled Navi completely off site. And I was like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of really really nice ideas. I
Yep.
think the call
Zaz had a
was-
lot
yeah,
of
very
Even in the
strong
mid
call.
round,
really
yeah,
strong
Zaz-
mid lurks. Yeah.
Zaz was lurking in the mid round, making plays.
I think the clip of
Um,
the clip of the tournament too might have been the spinning 1D.
The Cat Deagle
That
on
was-
the
Oh,
wonderful
That
yeah.
was sweet on fire, or I guess on default on Mirage.
default.
Yeah.
That was sick.
That was awesome. They had a ton of close like 1v1s in like the
Yeah.
first 7-8 rounds of Ancient. that could have
Yeah.
gone either way, and it started from like 1v2s and 1v3s in Navi's favor.
I did
So
feel like though when Navi kind of felt like okay, this is getting close, they just kind of flipped an extra gear and it was like Bit just got 5 through smoke or like there's a couple rounds where it was like, okay, there's
on
definitely
Mirage, it was a little different.
I
Like
think on
Yeah.
both.
Like at least when I was watching it on Ancient, it felt like it's online Counter-Strike versus like a lower tier team.
That's
Like
also
most of these tier 1 teams aren't going to be coming in like heavy swinging. But you could tell like Navi got a little nervous at some point. Like there was a couple clips on like early Mirage and like middle way through Ancient where like JL like almost bunches his monitor. And there's a couple
Yeah.
times where Bit is
Yeah.
like looking off in the distance, like with a face that screams, "I'm mad at my teammates."
and then you cut to the Imperial FE camps
And
and
they're
they're all
just
laughing,
laughing.
having a
Yeah,
great
they're having time of their life.
I
Yeah.
will say too, this is kind of a more broad point about Navi, and maybe we should get into it later. But JL hasn't seemed like happy-go-lucky JL since like
He lost
Yeah.
the
3 months
Doctor
before
Vibes
the
title,
major.
bro.
He
Yeah.
was literally like quite literally Doctor Vibes. He was
He lost that
Mhm.
title.
Yeah, I don't know
PhD
what
revoked, I
happened,
think.
and it's weird because it comes on the tail of them winning everything. So it's not like
Yeah.
their team was like in a rut. They were even I think the last event they won is when it kind of started where like they're in grand finals and he's like
It
I
started in
remember
Rio.
maybe it wasn't real. I remember there was a play. I don't know if it was him and Ema or him and Bit where he got mad at something one of them did and Alexi was like, "Hey, I called that." Like
Yeah.
I don't know what you're
A l-
like I called that. That was
yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to happen. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
But
at Rio, there was a whole timeout that they played
yeah.
where Alexi literally said, "Guys, like, calm down. Like, let's relax. I called that play. That was on me.
Yeah.
Like, let's just like simmer down. Like, we're better than this. Blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And it was just like a whoa. What is
It was
happening
just
in
it
this
was
team right now?
very I don't know
Uncharacteristic for
uncharacteristic
Navi.
I guess is the best way I'd say it. I don't know if that was just
Mhm.
me or if that's something you guys noticed as well, but it kind of stepped into that game even, and obviously they didn't have the greatest showing here.
Mhm.
After this, so I don't know, something to keep an eye on. Maybe I did say Wonderful might be the first big roster change, so you never know. Even though I
I
do think he was their
mean,
best player.
where
week.
I don't think that's possible anymore. Is the first big roster change.
Well, let's be honest, Shuhei doesn't count.
Shuhei for Spinks counts as a big roster change. We'll get on that later though.
We will, and I will say, I
Um,
think the award title we gave was something about getting dropped for like performance. I don't remember the exact wording, but I think you have to
It was
play.
get on and get out of there. It was just like first
It was
major
his first
roster
big
move.
move.
He
Yeah.
never got on. He didn't get to play a map in 2025.
Yeah, he played Bounty,
I mean,
Yeah, and they got rolled by
and
Bevan.
they got rolled, which is
And he got
probably a
moved.
big part of it.
nah.
Speaking of upsets, let's touch on some of the big upsets that we saw in like the first stage.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one for me, the biggest punch in the face for me, was the Liquid Heroic game.
Really?
So just to preface this, the game started at 6 a.m. where we're at Eastern time. I stay up all night to watch this fucking game, the second game with this roster, because I'd only caught like one game from the previous game or previous match. So I was like, dude, I'm staying up. We're gonna dub Heroic quite easily. I was thinking a 2-0. And the Counter-Strike I watched unfold in that series, specifically on Mirage, I just went to sleep after
Yeah.
watching it. I
That's
went to
tough.
sleep after watching them lose like 5 or 6 man advantage situations. Like not good ones. 2v4s, 1v3s, like 3v4s, all like mid-round, very easy executable rounds.
I have
And it was so frustrating to watch, man, because this is the same Liquid I've seen over and over again, and
it
I
looks
just
like nothing
don't want that to
changed.
be the
It
case.
looks like nothing changed.
I really don't want that to be the
I
case
have a
with this
two-part
roster.
follow-up to that then. I don't want to get off topic here, so it's still on Liquid, but they draw Heroic in the play-in for Kato.
Yeah.
They do.
Does that scare you, or like was it a Heroic thing, or it was a Liquid thing, right?
It was also
Little
an
bit of both.
online event with all those guys are online, not onliners, but they haven't played many
They're kind of
lands.
big event merchants, no?
Not really.
Heroic?
Youngster,
The logos?
xCloud, LNZ, TNR. These guys
Not
have
the
very
players
limited
they
line
have.
No, I guess
experience.
the org was kind of notorious for it last year, but I guess they did change
Yeah.
their entire roster.
Yeah, fully different
entire
roster.
But
Like
yeah,
the only guy with good experience is some Pius.
Are you nervous
Mhm.
going into Kato with the plan? Like, could you see a world where they get upset?
On LAN, I don't think it happens. I think Liquid comes back. I would be surprised if it was like a close series.
Yeah.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
it's also like whenever you just play a team, like if it's not a blowout and it's like a somewhat close game, I always think in the like very quick rematch that happens like a week or so later, usually the team that lost ends up having like a little bit of an advantage almost
That's
because
fair.
they knew what didn't work and they can adapt to that. Whereas the team that had the success now has to basically try and predict that adaptation, and that can get really finicky and really hard.
And you could
Okay.
see the tears were coming in
Yeah.
because it's a new team.
Yeah.
Because Nerds himself was playing great,
I think
and
him and
Mhm.
Twist were probably their biggest 1-2 punch. I
yeah,
kind of am concerned about JKS. Again, I think he played poorly in all 3 maps, and I just
Mhm.
he look comfortable? I don't think so.
Roll
he was
change,
good in the
like
first
he's
series though.
swapping spots on the map, especially on CT now. I mean, I think we've all seen the clip of like Saw talking about JKS in Cave,
Mm.
um, which is funny because like I think they only ended up actually like playing into him twice.
Yeah, they didn't really
Um,
exploit it at all,
so it was
but
kind of a weird thing to throw in a timeout call, but it's whatever. It's getting the guys pumped. Um, I don't know. I don't think that Twists and Nerds like being the duo mid on Ancient makes sense.
Why?
explain. Can you
Like I
elaborate on
would
that?
almost so from my understanding, what they did is JKS used to be an A anchor who used to help mid a bit because obviously the A anchor is pretty fluid.
Mhm.
Um, and Twist was an amazing mid player. So they bring on Nerds, who takes that role from JKS, and they put JKS in a position that is very information heavy. I mean, like, okay, we're a main team; it doesn't really compare, but like Spenny plays a spot in our team, and there's a lot of information that constantly has to be relayed out of Spenny's spot on the map, where it's just like, what's happening, cat? What's happening, shelf? What util's going down? What footsteps are you hearing? And JKS is a quiet dude.
Yeah, that's true.
How effective is that communication coming through? How abrasive is it to him to try and get into that flow state of calming everything you hear while focusing on your crosshair and being ready to take any sort of gunfight that's going to happen? I don't know. I'm just curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely his best as an anchor, where he can just hold down
Hmm.
sites.
And I
But
think why are you not playing into his strengths on the CT side? If like so, Nerds is coming in and taking that mid spot, right? That
Hmm.
doesn't mean you have to like you don't need to pull JKS off the satellite site anchor. I don't understand
Well,
the thought
on
process
Ancient,
behind it.
yeah, on Ancient, it's like what Liquid does is they put Ultimate early A. Like obviously, Ultimate as an opera will like float around, but they'll put him early on A to stop any sort of rush and then rotate him out and then pull the mid players from the mid control into the anchor, which is what Nerds does and what JKS did previously. Um, so the idea is like Nerds still gets to have like this very like impactful mid uh positioning that has a high rotation, can easily like if it's something strong towards B, can fast rotate, has a lot of influence on the map despite being an anchor. Whereas he himself has never played Cave. So I think the idea is you give the new guy like comfortability and see how everything fits, and then you go from there.
Right. I
But
get
I
it.
don't
It
know.
just I don't
It's
know. It feels like they're like, hey, let's make this name roster change and then let's throw all this pressure on JKS, who already wasn't playing good.
who's
And
on the
it's
chopping block. Let's be
yeah,
real
and
here.
it's not like it was, hey, let's throw a spot or two at JKS. It's like let's take every map we play and let's just throw JKS into the fire.
Yeah,
Like it's
kind
just
of.
not gonna like it might work because he's a very good player, but would you be shocked if it didn't? No. Like how can it?
No.
So
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know if
not
tough.
at
it's that
all.
extreme on the other maps. Like
No, Ancient is
he
definitely going to
gets
be
most
like
of
Ancient's
his
the
anchor
biggest
the
spots.
biggest.
Ancient's the biggest jump though, because you're going from like the mid support A anchor to the most important, impactful, loud part of the map, where you're doing a lot of secondary calling on CT too.
Yep.
So it just I don't know. The fit isn't there in my head, but hopefully he can figure it out because I do want this team to be good.
Oh, for
But
sure.
it's yeah. It was the first of it was the first game. It was online, but it didn't look great. It wasn't a promising start.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What was your guys' thoughts on the FaZe series? Speaking of upsets, they didn't get
Right.
completely upset, but it was a very close series. I thought I like loved the first half of Ancient, where I was like, "Oh, Elish fits in like a glove. This is perfect." Started to see a little bit of cracks. I still think they looked good, and I think they're gonna look a lot better, a lot quicker than a lot of the other teams because it just kind of seems like they're gelling a little bit quicker out of server. So yeah, what was your guys' thoughts on that?
I think the main mistakes they were making were like uncharacteristic
Mhm.
mistakes from FaZe. So I think I'm gonna give them some leeway in saying like they're implementing a big piece because Elijah is a big role. Like you have
Yeah.
to account for his presence on like every map and every like setup almost. So I think yeah, with time they're gonna start to gel. He didn't play bad per se. I think
No.
Frozen was the one that took the biggest hit,
Mhm.
at least in the M80 series. Um, but yeah, just some like losing some advantages, some like not questionable CT calls, but I feel like they're getting caught out a lot on CT. And I think with time, like this roster is still pretty high to like I'm pretty high on this roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree.
how many times have you seen FaZe lose early in a group stage on LAN and then have to make a losers bracket run where they end up finishing like top 4 in the tournament?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in this
And I do
tournament, and
think,
it's online
yeah,
CS, not LAN
that's
CS,
true.
so it's like
I
I
also
wouldn't
think
look too
like
much into it.
you talk about bringing in a big piece, but they also subtracted a big piece. So it's like you're not like subtracting. So on in Liquid's perspective, it's like you're subtracting Yeki, who's a big voice, but wasn't being impactful at all.
Mhm.
With a very, you're removing on phase a very impactful, probably the most impactful player at the major, and you're trying to fill his role with another. Like it's a lot of change, especially if you're a player like Frozen, who you're like, oh, Rops would have picked that up, or Rops would have done this, or we would have just had this done already. You know what I mean? So there's some small things there.
Mhm.
I think Elish himself actually looked pretty good, pretty comfortable. Um, I especially that ancient, like I like the way they're. I really like the way FaZe plays CT mid in general. And I remember, I think it was Maui on the desk at one point was like, "You think Alicia's ever seen his opera do that? Where like Brokey's just running around no scoping people, he's getting 4K retaking A site, and it's just like, you think Alicia's like, wow, I have an opera now, just
I
kind of
think
messed up, but like, yeah,
I think he's saying that about almost every role on the team.
that's
that, but
yeah,
also I
that's
think
true.
he's seen Halzer try and do that,
That's
and
yeah,
maybe has a little bit of PTSD from
Alzerk.
what happens.
that's true.
What
But yeah,
about the Bet Boom Mouse series?
Bet Boom, dude, this
So
Bet Boom team, when it has its full lineup, I know it was online, but dude, they look so good.
Just saying, was my pleasantly surprised award from last episode.
And brother, I am pleasantly surprised with what I got to
Already,
see on that
already
team.
pleasantly surprised.
I have
Yeah.
one caveat because yes, they looked great, but now knowing what we know about Mouse kind of makes
Hmm.
sense
How do you know this didn't set the time bomb in
because
Mouse?
there's never a team change in the history of team changes that one game sets the bomb off.
No.
You gotta plant the C4 before it blows
Yeah,
up.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like it could be
There's
getting to that situation, but this one could be like the dagger.
This
yeah, that's
probably
what I
was the
mean.
dagger to be fair, but like I don't know, to say this is the reason they dropped their IGL, who's the most promising
I don't
young
think they have a good reason to do that. You can tell me whatever reason they thought. I would say it's a bad reason.
I think we'll touch on Mouse later because we
Yeah, I
probably
think
have
we
a
keep
lot
Mouse
to
for
say
later. We have
about
a whole
Mouse.
yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know. Like I think so. You gave them your pleasantly surprised award. I mean, good shout. I think they looked really good. I'm just like, I wonder how much of that was them versus how much was the internal time bomb just ticking.
I was
Yeah.
impressed with Axel's form.
Axel's
Magna
form,
was
Boomich
like
is
their most
calling. Yeah.
consistent player, like next to
Yep.
Axel. He
Yep.
was looking great. Siren is the only room of concern for me on this team. I think when they start, like when their expectations rise and people are expecting them to perform well, I think he's going to be the one most likely that gets replaced. Sometimes he
Okay.
just looks caught out in some of
Yep.
these situations.
That's valid.
Especially
He's
yeah,
young though,
like
right? He's like 22.
he's young, but
He's a
yeah,
young kid.
he's been in the scene for a while. Like he was on that old
Hmm.
Spirit
Yeah.
team.
Yep.
And yeah, I just think if they were to replace him, because I don't mind Zorte. I don't think he's amazing, but I don't mind him as an opera.
Hmm.
I think he plays his role. Like he's not overly flashy or like I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like he
but
has his impactful
imagine they
kills.
were
Like
able to get like a Perfecto. Like this is what we said before. It'd just be that old C9 team, but like
Yeah.
Perfecto for Siren would just be
that
in
has
my
to be more of a
mind.
chemistry issue than anything because I don't know how Perfecto's not playing right now. it doesn't like unless something behind the scenes, but I feel like that would have leaked or
I
there would have
think
been
I
like
think BetBoom had to keep VRS points,
Yeah,
so that's what Zorte, Siren, and
okay.
Magnages.
Magnages is. So in theory, we could see a move. I don't think Siren's played bad enough to be off the roster from
No,
No,
what
no,
I
not
and,
have
and
yet.
I
seen.
Not
think
yet.
that as a team, I think they actually looked good enough to buy each other some time. But yeah, like I am curious to see like where does Perfecto slot in the next I don't know 3 months. You would gotta
Hmm.
think teams come calling soon, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Probably.
Interesting. Yeah.
A team I wanted to talk about. Spenny brought up one of his superlatives on the year. Um, except mine was pretty wrong, at least to start. I talked about how Payne's roster move was very uneventful for me, how I didn't think it would push the needle further.
Yes, you did.
Oh boy, I'm happily mistaken. I'm a big fan of this team. I stand by it. Like they lost to Navi, but I think the better team lost that day.
But isn't
Um,
that kind of what Pain does? They get to play
yeah,
top tier teams and they just don't win when they should win.
I don't know about
They win every
that.
now and then.
I feel
They've
like this
beaten
is
Mouse
kind of the Pain
before.
script.
They've beaten FaZe before. They're right there. Like they're right, almost breaking through to
But
like
I
a
guess do you
firm
think it's a
top
roster
10,
change
15
away? Or are
seed.
they like a
Hard to
game
say. Like a
like
lot of
a
your players are young and they need to develop. Like especially Snow. Like he's been developing at a pretty linear rate, I would say. Like I've been more
yeah?
impressed with him as of late.
He's very
Big
annoying to me,
Uzera,
but he is so good.
come on, bro. Let
He
him rock.
annoys me, but he's
Let
so
him
good.
rock. Big Uzera,
Are
always
you
loved
annoyed
him.
by Brazilian Donk? Come on now.
Because you gotta talk like Donk, you gotta play like Donk.
He's getting
And
there.
then
He's getting there.
Davidu showed some nice things this event, bro. I did not expect him to
Yeah,
be that good
I
that
agree with
quickly.
that. I think the biggest like the most I was I guess surprised with was NQZ's performance, specifically in that Navi series.
He just misses a lot of sitters, bro.
Yeah, like that's and then he does some like outlandish shit, and I'm like, where was
I
that when you
know.
were posted like B apps for 5 minutes? I don't know. Like he started to I guess find form later into the Mirage, but I was just watching it and I'm like, man, like these rounds are like one of your op kills away or one impact kill away, which you have from like just snowballing. And then I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like he never really found form. He got it a little bit at the end, but that was my biggest disappointment. But I think going into this tournament, I was probably higher on him than most of this team. So I'd call it an outlier and hope he performs better moving forward. I don't know. I like him. I watch him play and I like the way he plays. I think he's very talented. It's just I don't know. I was a little disappointed with what I seen from him specifically against Navi.
Let's
That's
touch
fair.
on the playoffs.
Let's go.
I think most surprising run would be Eternal Fire,
I mean,
making
unless
it
you're me and you
all
knew
the
this
way to
was
the
the roster change of the
finals.
year.
Unless you're Jay, who is Jota's number one supporter.
Didn't watch a single gameplay of his before he got signed to Eternal Fire, but that's fine.
But I think everyone can agree beating Vitality 2-0, beating G2, even though G2 got like maybe a little bit of a Mickey Mouse run to that point, and then taking a map off Spirit, which other teams could not seem to do, especially down, we were down 12-5 at one point, 12-4 on that
12-4. I think it
Anubis.
was 12-4 on Anubis. Yeah,
Yeah, so they
they saved
showed
us from a horrible finals, which was nice.
they showed a great base level in their performance as well as a lot of individual flashes too. Like Jota, he slotted in, he played better than I thought he would, even
Mhm.
for as high as I was on the move. Like he looked like he could hang into like in the top of the top for sure.
Hmm.
And yeah, honestly, it was a little bit of a down Zontaras series. Um in the G2 series specifically, and they still managed to win it, which is like hasn't really happened in the past for Eternal Fire.
Ever. Like,
So
yeah.
that's a great sign. And then in the finals, I mean, you ran into the wall, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spirit. It is what it
Like,
is.
that's kind of the final boss right now. I also don't think Zantares had a particularly good finals either. And like it showed more in the finals, I guess, but I don't know. They just seem to be clicking a little bit more. I actually Major seemed to be calling a better T side for the most part. Maybe didn't show in that grand finals, but I think like against G2, they looked pretty comfortable on every side they played. So I actually think as a team they just looked a lot better. And yeah, Jota slid in and he looks very comfortable. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
look like he's gonna blow you away, and he doesn't in any of the maps I watch. But he's just in the right spots, getting the kills he needs to get. Just looks like a good player.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Um, I really like this Eternal Fire team. I think them missing out on the major sucked when it happened. I like the Jota move, not as much as you did, Jay. Um,
Can't all be right. It's fine.
like I had Eternal Fire beating Vitality in the
Did you
matchup.
now?
Like that, yes, that was. I mean, I don't have the prediction anywhere, like in writing, I guess. But
As will.
in my head, I had Pain in Vitality, or sorry, Pain in Eternal Fire, both upsetting their higher seeds because both of them just looked really good.
Mhm.
And then again, both Navi and Vitality looked like they had gaps in their play that they haven't really adjusted to for the roster changes. But yeah, Zontaras did Zontaras things. That's kind of always been the case for Eternal Fire. We talked about how like against G2 that wasn't the case and they still managed to win. I think that's a good proof for like G2 this tournament, who finished top 4 in what is in my opinion one of the most fraudulent top 4s I've ever seen. They should have lost against Bait. They should have lost against Bet Boom, but Bet Boom had visa issues. They should have lost against who's the first team that they played?
Bait
not
was the
first team.
first team.
The second team they played was Astralis. Okay, maybe they shouldn't have technically lost to Astralis, but they should have gone to map 3. I think they got really lucky on that Inferno.
No, they played big.
What can you do about it? Did they play big? No, they played Astralis because Device dropped
G2?
Oh, I'm looking at Navi. You know what? You're right. They played big.
I was
Oh
okay.
my god, that's right. I remember this series now. Yeah. Okay, this is another one where it could have gone any other way. With that second map on Mirage. I don't know. I'm to kind of change it to this G2 team. I'm not excited about them now that I've actually gotten to see them. I'm fully aboard the minus snacks plus Shuei train.
Do you think that's enough?
I think your goal right now is G2. I talked about
I
this in
think
the
it
first
would be
pod.
enough.
Yeah, your goal right now is to re-sign Mondesi and get Mondesi to commit to your organization for the next like 3 to 5 years. And if you can say, hey, we're going to get a guy who's similar to your age and basically the best available IGL at the moment who has a very bright future. Like
Yeah, I think
when you're
that's a
building a
no-brainer.
team, you
I
want a
would
solid
be
rifle, you want a
calling them
great
every
op,
day.
and a great IGL, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm calling Mouz, I'm calling Shuei's agent, I'm calling everyone.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's can we round off the I guess roster change list with what do you guys think about Falcons?
Mid.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mid as hell.
I was more excited, so I guess I'm alone here. I was very not happy about the roster change. They didn't blow me away, but I was like, I can kind of see it. They looked
I
good,
think Tess's was their best player, which is not a good sign.
but
He
he was
was
their best
actually
player playing pretty ridiculous. It's not like he was their best
Oh, he
player
was
and
playing
was
really
playing
well. Yeah.
average. Like he was playing very good.
he was, but if that's gonna be the case, like when are we gonna see Nico at his top form in this system? Will that ever be able to be obtained? And
I mean, yeah,
secondly,
he's too good not to.
I mean, it's very, I wouldn't say unorthodox, but it's not the best situation with all the outside the game implications. Nico probably didn't want to end up with a roster like this, I'm guessing. Like he
I
went
mean,
minus
yeah, it's.
13. When was the last time he went minus 13
I mean, he
in a
had one of the
best of
worst starts to the
2?
year out of anybody. To be fair, like the transition to go to CS2 was not easy for him. It's not
Yeah,
like
it
this
was not
is.
easy for Nico.
It's
He
not like
definitely
this.
had a slump around
Yeah,
the same
we've
time last
Yeah,
year.
but
seen.
we've seen that was a whole different game, bro. This is just CS2. This is the same game. When he
Yeah,
just
but
came off a top 4
he's
performance on the year.
probably the only person who made a roster change where he's immediately asked to be the superstar again. Like Alicia's a superstar. But
Bro was the
Why are we
superstar on
giving him
G2.
outs
What are we
like
talking
this? Why are
about?
we giving him outs like
Yeah.
this, bro?
it's not really an out though. It's
He
just
played bad. He played
Yeah.
bad.
He
Like
played bad.
it
will
was,
he continue to play bad throughout the year?
Maybe.
but
Who
I don't
knows?
think he's gonna return to that star form that we saw last year. Which is, if this team wants even a chance to succeed, they're gonna need that out of him
So can I
every
ask what
series.
last year was pushing him forward that he doesn't have anymore? Was it Monacy? Because I can't
That
think
helps.
of any
That
other
helps.
feature on that team that was
It could
propelling
be
him
it could be
forward.
calling structure. So like Nico is
Or
a
lack
very, very
thereof?
vocal player. No, I think he was in a team that had a lack of calling structure, which allowed him to be one very impactful in the team, but he mid-rounded a lot for that G2 roster. I think he's coming into a team with Zonic and Kixon as like a coach IGL duo. From everything I've seen from Kixon, he doesn't seem like a very hands-off IGL. And he's coming into a team that already had like a system, at least for the core three, plus like a duo of like a coach and anchor who are both very vocal. So he kind of went from a team where he was probably, despite not being the IGL, the most prominent voice on the roster, to a team that has Kixin, Magisk, and Sonic as also prominent voices on the
I
roster.
just don't think
And
you
that
lose
can
your
get really
voice.
cloudy really quickly.
Cloudy maybe, but I think at the end of the day, there's a hierarchy of players on that team, and he's at the top, and then there's 3 pedestals, and then there's the next guy. So I don't think he's losing his voice.
I
in
don't
this
think that's how
roster.
Zonic runs
You
his
don't know about
teams, though.
Zonic, bro?
I know about
Yeah.
Zonic, but I also know about Nico, and I think Nico's very different than anyone Zonic's had the pleasure of coaching, and I don't think that's arguable. Zonic's last
Not sure what you mean
superstar
by
was
that.
Device.
I mean, Zonic has coached
Like-
Device and Zywoo.
Yeah.
Fair, but like, do you think they're as hands-on as Nico?
Device, yes.
Not that
Zywoo,
much.
no.
I don't think so. And I also think it's different as an opper because if you're hands-on, you're just putting yourself in spots.
Regardless,
most
it's
part, right?
so hard to get excited about this team. Like, do I think they're gonna be terrible?
Yeah.
No. I think they're gonna like cap out at like top 8 finishes for most of their events.
Which is really what Heroic was prior to this move.
Yeah.
But now they
At least
have
at the
an
end
X
of it.
factor who can propel them.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I know he obviously has
he
it in
played
him,
2 best of 3s and they won one of them. Like I don't.
but he looked bad in both. Like, how is that? Like, when have you seen that from Nico? Other than
Earlier
a
in the
game
year.
change. Other than a game change, bro.
I don't know. I think
He
that's
doesn't look
giving a
this
caveat.
bad.
I think we're looking at online best of 3s and we're saying Falcons is doomed because Nico looks bad, and that's kind of crazy.
I'm not saying they're doomed, but you can't look at me with a straight face and say, "Yeah, this team's gonna
Bro,
contend
they
for
barely
titles."
beat Ents.
There's no fucking chance.
I mean, they 2-0'd Ends, so it wasn't like they barely. I know
Both were
overtimes.
overtimes.
Fair enough, but I don't know. I think this team is better than I thought it was going to be, and I think
That's your takeaway.
yes.
Wow, no, I disagree.
That's not your takeaway.
No, my
They
takeaway from this
they
team
didn't take
is
on
they
roll.
performed to my expectation because I didn't think it was going to be a good team.
I think that I don't see that. I mean, they lost to EF. Like everybody lost to EF.
Yeah, they lost to EF. They
Got 2-0'd.
like playing this Ents team should never be that close. As
I
a
think-
roster that has Tessus, Nico, Dexter, Magisk, and Kixon.
I think this Falcons team can take the current G2 roster head to head.
I don't think so. That's a hot
I think
take.
it would be a,
Maybe and maybe and
series.
if only because Nico's got the inside strats, bro. Like
Well,
I don't
he's
know.
like they're not gonna call because I'm not there, so they're like I don't know. I think this roster has more potential than people are giving it credit for. I still think they're a change or 2 away, which I wish
Definitely
they would
2,
have already
but yeah.
done. It should be 2.
Well,
but-
VRS, right?
Yeah, but I don't care. I hate that, and I understand why it's implemented, but
You need
like
to care.
we're just prolonging the inevitable, and it's like, well, we could get these rosters that people actually want to play in, but we're keeping core 3s together because of VRS points, and it's like
Yeah,
get
but
it,
there's problems with the other. There's problems with
Systems
the other
as
system
well,
too,
yeah.
bro.
No,
There's-
every system has problems, and I
this is the
understand
best way to
kind
do it
of
as
like
of right now.
I
the
agree.
best of all the evils, but I don't know. I hate the fact that like a core 3 won't be able to get the exact change they want, so they'll just stick together. And it's like, yeah, but we have our points at least. What if each person
I
took
don't
their
know. We'll
points?
see.
No.
That'll
The
be a
reason the
lot.
core 3 comes together is to protect the players from the orgs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they used to do in Call of Duty. Every player had his own pro points.
Had
And
it,
they
yeah,
just
had his own
shop their pro
points.
points
Yeah,
around. It's like,
but you
hey,
also
Right.
got like only a percent. You only got like 80% of your pro points or some shit like that, right?
yeah, but like, at least that way, it's like if
Yeah,
I'm a free agent, I have some stock in the work I put in. Which it's still not a great system, but I'm just like, I don't
I
know.
get what you're saying.
I
I
would
get
have
what
liked
you're
to
saying.
see less core threes stick when I was like, hey, we've seen you guys. It didn't work. You know?
Mm, I mean, it still allows for 40% of a roster to be changed. That's pretty big.
I guess.
All right,
And
you guys want
yeah.
to hit the next topic?
Yeah, we can pivot.
Yeah, I'm down. So
Let's try to go a little quick through this if we can.
a little quick through this. Yeah, we'll try and rapid fire off some news and current events, I guess. We've been delaying it for a while now. Let's talk about Mouz, Shuhei, and Spinks.
Terrible.
Okay, wait.
Just terrible.
Okay, wait.
Terrible process from an organization.
Terrible process, and you really picked the wrong player to drop. Like,
Yeah.
there's a world where this edition was perfect for Mouse.
Yeah. Well, the
Gives
reports
the-
were saying 2 weeks prior to this move, they were going to drop Brolin for Spinks, which in that case, I would say, wow, nice
Move of
upgrade.
the offseason, probably.
Yeah,
some
like, why didn't you do that in the
championship
offseason?
edge? Like, you get
That
a
would have
guy who
been
has.
a fucking great fit. And
I
now,
also-
somehow, Brolin did his little magic
little
trick,
politicking.
witchcraft in the Mouse organization to get them to believe that he should stay and pick up IGLing duties over Shuhei.
I don't even. Has Brolin been
Yeah.
a notoriously vocal secondary voice, or like this is
He
kind of
doesn't-
out of left field, right?
He doesn't like spark me as the very vocal guy when I watch him play.
I also think if you look at, maybe this is like reading way too much into it, but if you look at the roster and like the just a group of guys, Spinks doesn't seem to fit in at all, like personality wise. And the one guy I was like, maybe he might vibe with would have probably been Shuhei. So it's like, it's just weird to me. I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I can't like. I'll be preying on their downfall. I don't see how this works out for them.
I don't know how you let a guy like that just walk away.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll say thank you to them when he inevitably lands on Liquid later this year.
I don't know if that's
Fingers
happening.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
Swiss
But
is IGLing for the foreseeable
I
future,
think
buddy.
whichever team gets Shuhei is gonna send them a fruit basket and with a little thank you card.
A little pineapple, yeah. So something Sponge tweeted on this that I thought is a somewhat interesting take is, so like he kind of breaks down. It's just like, okay, it's never a good move to bench your IGL and replace him with a player who has never done the job, which is what they've done with Brolin. And it's especially bad to do that right before one of the biggest tournaments of the year in Kato. So it begs the question, what was going on that made them think that was the right move?
It's impossible to say
It's impossible
Right?
to know. Like, I don't.
because they're
Like,
all
could
coming
it-
out and saying that they're all friends and like it wasn't a bad
Could it be
environment.
coaching? Could it be coach like Zipniks and I forget what their head coach's name is. Could there be some disagreements between
Cyclone?
him and Shuei? Yeah, on how to run the team and how to go forward.
Wouldn't
And
it have come out before though? Like from
I mean-
everything we've seen about Mouse, they're kind of a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, that's the only
They
thing that
agree on
gives
the
me
way to play
pause.
the game. The thing that gives me pause outside of that is like, why did Yimfat just resign? Like, did he know this was happening? Was this a contingency of him resigning? Was he blindsided by this? Because that's the biggest thing to me is like,
Yeah.
2 days before
Yeah.
the benching, it was like, oh my god, Mouse is here for life. Like,
yeah, I know.
they're
We're
boys.
like a week before, we're like, holy
We
shit,
got
they
the three of us were
re-signed
like,
Yimmy.
holy
That's
shit, he's
huge.
back.
They can actually like build on this roster and on this team. And like a week later, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's-
just out of
yeah.
left field. Like, it doesn't make
Whole
sense.
thing's
to me.
wonky.
And I haven't found one person who was like, yeah, it might be a good move. It's like, no, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
You just don't get like Shuei's taken a team to a major final that would never have been in a major final. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's proven in that regard. He's proven on Mouse, and he's young as hell, man. Like you don't see IGLs this young and that established already in the scene, dude. And
Mhm.
let's say this somewhat works out for Mouse, however, and they're still like a top 7 team in the world. Okay, they still probably made one of the other top 6 teams better. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
make a team better.
depending on who
just
picks
Mhm.
him up.
doesn't make it's like if I would love it for it to be Liquid, it probably won't be. Dude, if G2 picks this guy up, like they might be like head to head with Spirit after a couple.
Mhm.
Like I think he's that impactful. I don't know. I think it's a very very questionable move, and it's like it screams of just like panic.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
kind of what
There's
I was
no
talking about.
I don't think there's any need for panic.
I'm
Like
sure we'll hear like the unravelings of what actually happened in the
I feel like we would have
future,
heard
but
it by now though.
I'm
I
just
guess
thinking they're
eventually
keeping
it always comes
something. They're
out,
keeping
but
something quiet,
Yeah.
probably.
the thing I don't remember where I heard this. This is an original thought, so let me not frame it as one. But I heard maybe that like Shuhei might have gotten an offer that enticed him after Yimfat re-signed, where it was like maybe G2 wanted him or so, and he told the team that, and they're like, "Well, if you're gonna leave in 6 months, we're just gonna bench you." Like that's the only way I could see this
Kind of like
making.
Arados in
Yeah,
yeah,
like
and
it's like,
Saw.
well, we're not gonna play your system for 6 months and have to redo everything. We're just gonna start fresh. That kind of makes sense to me. Now that's probably not even what happened, but it's the only thing where I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
I just feel like if that's the case, like as G2, they would have just bought out Shuei for the 6 months.
When does this contract expire? Do we know?
We don't actually know. It
I
could
don't
be
think
like a
it's
longer contract, to
public.
be honest. Like I think if that's the case, he's probably already on the move to G2. He's already on the move
Yeah,
elsewhere.
but
Like that's an
what
off-season move,
else
right?
would cause you to make such a brain dead move?
I
Because
don't know.
that's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll
I can't think
see.
of one thing. I don't know. That's all I got on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see someday.
All right.
Hopefully.
So Valve, better late than never, releases the Austin major dates and more importantly the MRQ dates. So the European MRQ starts April the 14th and goes to the 17th. The Americans MRQ starts on the 15th, goes to the 17th, and the Asian MRQ goes from 15th to the 17th as well. So something that's notable about this is that's like basically the deadline now for VRS points for qualifying for the MRQ, which means we don't have actually many tournaments between now and then. We have Kato, Cluj, Blast, Oben, Libsyn, EPL Season 21, and PGL Bucharest.
You just named like
That's it.
6 events, yo.
Yeah, I feel like that's
That's
a
a lot
little
of
bit.
events.
Right.
I'll be honest. I thought you were gonna say like 2 or 3. That's like 6 tournaments.
It's 5, but yeah.
It's 5, so
Considering
it's
the
like
math,
one and a bit a month.
Right, but that now excludes Blast Rival Season 1, IEM Melbourne, IEM Dallas. What else is it? That's basically the main ones that it's getting rid of.
Yeah.
Yala Compass doesn't count anymore. PGL Astiana. Like those are like a lot of tournaments between MRQ and the major that just don't really matter now for this season.
That's true.
Yeah, it tears me up a little bit because I kind of like the way it feels like Valve is putting their foot down and being like, if you don't run tournaments the way we want you to, you're not gonna matter, which I think is gonna shift some change into the quality of these events.
Yep.
But I don't know, it is weird because it's one thing if like I know I'm gonna go back to Call of Duty again, but they only have a set amount, so 5 events, right? Which
Mhm.
sucks. But you're not playing events 6, 7, and 8 that don't matter; they just don't exist. In
Right.
this case, it's like if I'm Spirit, I'm the number 1 team in the world. Do I want to go to an event that I don't get points at when I'm just showing strats and I'm showing our playbook? Doesn't really make sense. It's not like they're strapped for money, you know. If
Mhm.
anything, they're saving costs on the flights and the travel and the hotels, and it like it does kind of. If I'm one of those events and I feel like I followed the rule book set out by Valve, I'm feeling some type of way for sure.
Yeah, right. And another thing is like it's now going to come it's going to be really important now to like what events you choose.
Mhm.
Like if I'm a team and I'm kind of trying to like reject and accept invites, I'm basically going to have to accept every tournament at the first like half of the season. So like every January, February, and March, every tournament going forward, I have to accept now. Because like for example, Liquid's not going to be at Cluj Napoca, I believe.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of teams pulled out.
Yeah, but Furia is going to be there. And
Yeah.
so is Pain. And those are 2 teams that can now challenge Liquid for the number 1 Americas seed, which
And
gets
take
to
the major
stage 3.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I bet if Liquid knew that the cutoff would be that early, they'd
They'd
probably be at
probably
this
just
event.
commit to playing it for sure. I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elise said this too. I don't remember who he was talking to, but they were asking him about like moving to EU and what the travel is going to be like. And hey, at least you can skip events. He's like, no, you kind of can't anymore, because if we skip an
Mhm.
event and a team below us goes and has a run, like we get
Yep.
hurt. And another thing with the VRS points that's kind of weird is, have you guys seen what's happening in CCT now?
They're
Where
not distributing them.
Yeah.
we're like, sorry, say again.
Like they're just not distributing them because of the like organization of the event.
Yeah, so like I guess my like, do you think Valve has a better handle of how this point system's going than it looks?
I think so, because like with CCT no longer giving out points for season 1 of CCT this year,
Mhm.
I think their events going further, they kind of fixed the issue. And they're going to be able to give points
Okay.
now. But like as a tier 2 team, like who's trying to qualify for the MRQ on like the VRS points near the bottom ranks, there's not a lot of options to actually get points.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
like Challenger or ECL, so basically like the ECA league.
But they kind of bump teams
And
out of playing
that's
ECL
kinda
if
it.
you're a good team.
Well, yeah, some teams, right? So in North America is a good example. I believe it was Wildcard and M80 both pulled out of ECL because the way it's structured, they'll most likely lose VRS points by playing in it than gaining, because they're not going to get many points for wins, but losses are going to tank them a pretty big bit.
And it's their best
Um,
of one. They're like half best of one, so it's like you never know what happens. Like,
Exactly. And so now obviously M80 and Wildcard have enough VRS to
right.
accept invites to a lot of these tournaments. But if they bomb out of Cato, and if they bomb out of, I think 2 of them are at Cluj, or
Yeah.
Wildcard's
So
at
the
Cluj.
Brazilians are at Cluj for sure.
Like if you're Wildcard, for example, right, and you bomb out of Cato play-ins and you bomb out of Cluj, you can find yourself falling to a point where you might not be able to qualify for North American MRQ spot.
Yep.
It'd be pretty hard. Like they'd have to lose like EPL as well, Blast Open. Like if they just start bombing out of
At
tournaments.
that point, you kind of deserve it. Like at that
Fair,
point, you're at 4
fair.
events. You're like, well, the system might be
But
working.
it's not hard just to run into like a hot team in a single best of 1
No, it isn't.
and then face a team that's been upset, and you're like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
It's new. It's like it's exciting, but there's a part of me where I'm like, this needs to be amended a little bit. I guess
Mhm.
we'll
It's
see
going
how
to
it
be.
plays out.
It's going to be edited,
Yeah.
and like there's going to be some changes, I would assume, throughout the year.
And
Yep.
It's their first year, honestly. I think they've
who
been doing a
knows? Like
pretty
we
good
might get to
job
the
as
major and we're like, wow, this bracket is perfect. Like you
Yeah,
never know. So,
Maybe.
probably not, but you never know.
Speaking of Valve making changes and adapting, we're getting Premier Season 2, boys.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Can I be honest? Can I
And
just get my point out
that
first?
doesn't matter to us. We don't I don't think any of us play Premier
Did they
really.
fix the anti-cheat? No, I don't care.
Rumor is they're doing some shit with VACNEC 3.0.
that
that's-
Rumor
That's-
is. Rumor
Rumor
is.
But here's the important part, right? M4A4 2900.
I like this a lot.
FAMUS hasn't been reported the price drop, but the rumor right now is $300, so it'd turn into a 1950 gun, as well as better standing and crouching accuracy on first bullet. Good change. I don't think it's enough to make the FAMUS relevant,
Disagree.
but oh really?
I mean, you know, I'm a new member of the FAMUS Club.
I think the only round I would still buy it on is the second round, like second round of the game or second round of the CT side when the T's have got the bomb down. So you know they're forcing Galils.
Yep.
That's the only round where I think it's going to be like
And
actually widespread used.
And even there, I feel like it's going to be on that round, but it also has to be in a position where you are going to be taking a little bit more of a range duel anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like to me, like I feel like, so the difference between that and the MP9 is what, $700. So 2 flashes and a smoke.
Yeah.
I can close the range with 2 flashes and a smoke. I can do something aggressive with the extra util that can actually let us set up something further into the round. Like I still think the MP9 is just so versatile.
Oh, if I'm close range, I'm
with you-
always getting the
That's true.
MP9.
I think
Exactly,
for me, though,
right?
it's more
And
so, like,
the util
position-
allows you to play into
Yeah.
that.
Maybe it's biased. I feel like the positions I play on CT, like just personally, I'm like I kind of can get away with a FAMUS, and I'm like, this gun doesn't feel as awful as I thought it did. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think like
I
I'm
think it's
putting
overhated.
A-Site Ancient or like Anubis. I don't know. I can get away with a quick kill if they're not on, if they're on a full
Yeah.
buy, I'm not touching that gun. I'd rather have an MP9. But like you said, the second round of a game, if they get bombed down or if they're like at a weird spot, their eco where they're forcing maybe Deegs, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's still like, I don't know. Eco's in a weird place in general. I'm happy they're making tweaks. These are kind
Mhm.
of weird ones for me. Like, I'd much rather see the eco changes come in terms of the round losses and like
The
the
money
the
and yeah.
money you actually get for kills and the round endings, but it's an interesting take on it. I don't think that's the issue. Like I
Also,
Something
nerf
they
the kill bonus on the MP9, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say they brought this up on Talking Counter, but change it to 400. I think that's
Yeah.
really good. Just do that.
and can we
And I
have
say that as
CT
someone who
Molly? Can we have
abuses the MP9.
CT Mollies back, please? I don't know what
No,
like
no, no.
dude,
I
they
don't
should
really
have
Mm.
they
care.
should have a Inferno Molly and just fix banana and then give us CT Mollies everywhere else because
Make the
No.
they're
CT molly
not
like
worth it.
make it do more damage. Keep the spread.
The spread's
I agree.
fine.
Keep the spread, keep the time, increase the damage.
I think you
Yeah.
put the time back to normal too. The Molly should
Not
have
with the
same.
increased damage. It's you got to do. You can either increase the spread or increase the time that it back to normal, or increase the damage so that
Dude.
maybe instead of it ramping up like 2, 4, 8, 6, it just like starts at 4 and goes to 16. Like because there's so many times like you throw a molly that's like still pretty far from the T's entrance path, and they still can just like sprint through it and take like at most 16 damage, and it's like okay, well,
Yeah.
It's like what was like I got a sound
Especially
cue that
on
was cool, but he was full
yeah.
sprinting anyways. Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
necessary.
especially because when I used to play the A side on Ancient, I'll throw this Molly, and if you don't hear anything, you're just like I just wasted $500. Like it's I don't know.
Yeah.
That's still my biggest thing. I would like to see some of the kill rewards get adjusted versus lower. Like $2,900 M4 makes sense because I don't think it has any reason. It's actually probably slightly worse than the A1S. I mean,
I think now
situationally,
that it's 2,900, players are going
I
to
think
be
it's gonna be
buying
more
it a lot.
50-50 now.
I think it might even be more than 50-50.
I guess my point is there was never a reason for it to be priced more.
I think there definitely was.
Why?
I
'Cause
think if
could
you
shoot
compare
silently
the
with one of
two,
them?
it's
Oh.
like
More bullets.
yeah, more
you can also
bullets.
full spam
Like
through smokes and not get shot back with one of them. Like
yeah,
Yeah,
but
but you
I
also
don't
do
think
more
that's
armor
that.
pen on the A4.
I think that on maps like Nuke, I think that is very, very, very much so a benefit that would account for a price difference. Like I don't think I have an A4 and I'm like, wow, I have the advantage over an A1S. I don't think that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
In close range, I'm taking the A4 all the time. So in some positions I play, it's way better to just deal with the rushes if you have a lot of
Yeah,
people coming at you.
especially if you're in like Cheetah. Like now you can
Yeah.
spam through that wood so much cleaner.
But if you have an A1S, you can spam through and not get spam back.
Yeah, but you're just
But if
not
they have
doing as much
pistols, I'm not getting
damage.
spam back anyway.
Well, if they have pistols on
Yeah.
a hot day, you probably shouldn't be in Cheetah.
Eh,
Play the door.
that's where you and me are different, brother.
Speaking on season 2, what do you guys we haven't touched on this, I don't think at all. The train officially comes in.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it, but we got to see it pretty much in every second series at Blast, it felt like, until at least deep into the playoffs. Like
I think it was played like 5 times, not even.
No, it was more than that.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think
Here,
it was
let me-
played a
let me see if I
decent
can
amount.
pull it up.
Anyways, at least the first couple days, it was like every second series had it.
Mhm.
What are you guys' thoughts on, first of all, playing it, and then more importantly, watching the pros play it?
Playing it, not a big fan. It's
like it.
not polished enough to be as regarded as the old train. I think that's where
Of
people's
course.
their expectation and the reality that we're given is very. That's why there's such a big gap
Mhm.
in that sense. Because this train, it feels like before they made the spawn changes, it was like it felt a little 50-50. So that was like I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure their goal in making it because train used to be so CT sided. But now it's starting to feel even more CT sided
Yeah,
because the
it is.
T's can't get any rush plays out of T mid without like the mollies and nades raining on them. So you just kind of have to work it slow. The CTs can now take upper halls before the T's even get there
Yeah.
with mollies. So now they can have like entire pop control. So the T's are kind of just like you don't have many options at all anymore.
Yeah.
And even the B site, like you plan on that site, they can play 5-man retake and just win it like 60%, 70% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not even a real site.
They're missing an element on the A site that would open up TCon drastically. I don't know if it's another train or if it's a set of boxes or what it is, but it just feels like when you exit TCon and you swing into E-box, you're looking at 9 angles. And if you go down
Yeah.
red train, the second you get to the edge of red train, you're in a fight situation where you lose. Like
Mm-hmm.
you've the backside. The backside is a ridiculously OP position right now. You can molly it fairly easily, but like if you're in the mid round and you don't want to give away your position, backside is the dirtiest head glitch in the game. Then you have the camera peak, which is kind of 50-50, but if you overextend the camera peak because he's playing old bomb, you get the hell peak. It's a lot going on for the CTs to kind of work around. And like it kind of helps that you can play one guy on B and then you have literally every part of A site covered because I don't think
Yeah.
B's that easy to take either if you have good spawn. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of weird. I almost wonder if they added like I don't know. I don't love the fact that the top of Pop Dog, I guess Long Dog now, but we're not doing that, is controlled by the CTs off spawn.
Yeah.
At least in old train, and it was still CT sided, you could control the top of Pop and then flash yourself into a favorable fight or work down that way or molly it out, whatever the case may be. But you have to fight just to get, like, imagine if you had to fight to get into T side connector on overpass. It's like, well, what's the point of taking this map control? Like,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah, I think I've seen some people bring up how like you could just open the ladder hole in that corner and just don't put a ladder there. Just make it like a one-way drop, almost cobblestone-esque.
Okay.
Where
So you remember the corner in upper T halls
So where old ladder
where
was.
the ladder used to be?
yeah.
You just open up the floor there and T's can drop down, but it's one way and you keep long dog the way it is. So the
Okay.
idea is the T's can still flash and play aggressive into Pop Dog and try and get that space. Because right now you just effectively can't fight for it.
Yeah.
If they're
Just, like,
playing B
digging the-
properly with util, so that they're like banking the molly into the drop, and they're throwing early molly double nade onto T-Con run out, they can get two
Yeah.
guys in the bottom of Pop Dog and one guy in the top of Pop Dog instantly.
The problem with that though is okay. So first of all, Cobble. The reason it kind of worked that way is because you could still self boost somebody back reverse. I don't think you'd be able to do that with the height of the. Like, they'd have to.
You
that's
can,
the-
but you don't need to because long like you can still walk through long dog,
But
right?
you'd also, so the way spawns work, you'd also, let's say that would be what, in the middle of Long Dog, that drop, or where would it be?
No, it's pretty much
It would be near the
literally
door.
right where the ladder used to be.
Where
It's
the
really near
stairs?
the door.
Like
right
yeah,
near the
no,
no,
near the
no.
entrance of
Near
E-Box.
the
if
entrance.
you're a T and you get there as fast as possible and you don't even throw a flash and you drop down, you have to instantly look right in front of you, right outside E-Box, right behind you. Like
You don't have to look behind you. You beat behind you by a
Yeah.
good bit.
Do
You're
you?
literally just gonna have to look
Yeah.
like right ahead is make sure no one's
Well,
in
then
there.
okay, I can see it then.
I'm still
Yeah.
not really in favor of this change though. It's
I've seen a
It's
lot
too
of people
much, I
bring
think.
about it. I
Dramatic.
don't. I think I would rather them
Just move the staircase entrance, I
change.
think. Or leave it and fix A site. That's my two actual biggest gripes to the map are A site, just something needs to be added to allow T's to get out. And then almost more importantly, Spenny, you agree with this, B site needs to be pushed back towards the stoppers more, to where once you get bomb down, you can actually play a proper post plant.
And there needs to be more elevation. Like the trains are so low that where you can come out Z and just
look over
post an
everything.
op and see
Yep.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like just nowhere to hide. It's not a real
Well,
site. It's
I
not a
don't know,
bomb site.
If you throw the smokes we've been playing around with, you can cut off those lines, which is fine. But to me, it's just like you get the bomb down, and if you don't get the first kill on the post plant, like if you don't kill the first rotator out Z or out spawn, you lose the round.
hmm
Yeah.
Because you can't even molly from upper anymore. You have to hit like a perfect molly. So like,
What if you connect Ivy to Hell?
Nah.
so you walk up Ivy halfway through. There's like an entrance on the right.
Yeah, you know how there's like the indent on the left? Imagine there
Yeah.
was like also an indent on the right, but it let you get into Hell. So the CTs could still take like the initial contact there and like hold you to it. But if the
So maybe I'm
tees
weird.
like throw smoke or anything. Like it just gives the tees another option to enter and split.
Feel like you would need to add a physical door there then. Or else
Like
it
a
would be
squeaky?
too OP. Yeah, like a squeaky.
I'm
Or
down.
else
I'm
it,
down for
or
squeaky.
else it'd be
Like
too OP.
cash a
Because
site
that way, I'm
kind of,
sure you
yeah.
could smoke, like you could spawn smoke, maybe even insta smoke the Ivy cutoff and just get into that door for free.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be that changing, honestly.
I think it would.
I think
I
the
think another
CTs, if
entrance
it's a
into
small entrance, see, the CTs would be able to hold it pretty easy, and you can just get a guy tucked in there like early round, and he can cut off
Would it
Ivy as
almost be
well.
nicer if they added like an element of Ivy that doesn't connect into Ivy? So there's just a door, like a almost like a back alleyway into a door.
yeah,
that
you can go
opens up.
alley to hell, but I feel like that might be a
That
little
makes
too
more.
broken for the tees.
If it's an actual connector door.
Because based off spawns,
Yeah, I don't
we
know.
basically beat the CTs to hell.
Yeah, there's 4 of you there. One of you can pick it up.
I think there's enough entrances on the A site now, especially with
Yeah.
that
I think
new
the
Ivy.
biggest thing, I like the idea, but like I think the biggest thing has to be just
It's the
add
sites
something.
themselves.
Yeah. It felt like I don't think it felt like it was. The trains were right in front of T-Con. So when you walked out, there's a train ladder in your face.
Yeah,
Now
unless
it's
you
just
go left,
9
you go
feet
to
to the
Olaf,
right.
right, you go to Sandwich.
Yeah. Ivy, or not Ivy, sorry. Olaf isn't protection. Like if I'm Olaf, I'm just waiting to die. Like you can't play Olaf.
No, you can get a little finicky around that
It's hard,
box.
bro. Like
But
the
there's
white
that really
box.
deep camera angle that's just like you can't do anything.
Yeah,
like,
if he has an
so
op
if,
there.
yeah, if he has the
Camera
op
needed
there,
to
it's,
change. I don't like the camera change. Think about all the ways as a CT you can get
you're
back into
thinking if you
basement.
move it to the right, so it's behind bomb train again.
I don't even think. Does there need to be an opening there?
Yeah, there
Yes.
doesn't need to be an opening in the middle. Like
Not in the
that's-
middle, but like you can move it to the right.
It was
if it
fine
being
how
the
it
front
was last
side.
time.
Like the way Old Bomb was better, but make it even smaller. I don't know.
I liked it before when you had the hell entrance and you had the old bomb entrance.
Yeah.
I will say though, and this is less on the negative side of things, but I like when Inferno was easily my favorite map at the end of Go, and they butchered my baby coming into CS2, and I think they made a lot of people don't like it still, whatever. I think they made a lot of
Mhm.
really good changes to make the map really viable, in my opinion.
I
I think it's a good map in CS2.
Made it better.
I
Mhm.
can't see them keeping this version of Train in the game for more than 6 months. I think by the time we get to even the major, it'll be drastically improved. I hope.
I mean, they drastically changed Ancient from when it first entered the map pool.
Yeah, there used
Like,
to
I
be,
don't think
there
this
used to
is
be doors
anything-
leading into Donut from Temple. Like it was.
From Temple, yeah, there used to be
Yeah.
a different set of boxes on Catwalk.
Yeah, they did a lot.
Yeah, it's
So-
I'm expecting them to make changes once they actually see pros play on it.
The
I'm
range-
hoping it happens before the MRQ.
It was pretty puggy.
Yeah, it was pretty buggy.
Yeah,
I
I don't know.
have faith though. I have hope
faith.
in Valve for once. I don't
I
know
do
why.
too.
Call me delusional.
No, you know what? Outside of the anti-cheat, and we don't really get affected by that, I feel like they've done a decent job with the game. They're putting out, like, they're
Yeah.
treating it more like a game than they did Go, so, like, we'll see.
Honestly, shout out to the 2 of the devs who work on the game.
Yeah, all 3 of you did a great job. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah.
I'm excited for my next skin craft.
We'll let you go home at 8 p.m. next week instead of
Yeah.
12. All right, let's go quickly through this. Katowice playing.
We want to bang through Kato, or do we want to?
What are our thoughts on just going through the matchups and, like, rifling off each of us who we have winning the maps or the matches for the entry round? That makes sense?
Sure.
I'm down, and we can maybe linger a little bit on certain matchups if we choose.
If you guys have,
Or we can just bang out.
I would start like let's say the first one is Liquid Heroic.
Liquid
Who do you guys
Heroic,
have?
yeah.
I have Liquid.
You already talked a little about that, yeah.
we
I
talked a
think
little bit.
Liquid-
I think Liquid does it.
I think they
Okay.
not cruise, but I don't think it'll be like a super tight one like last time.
Okay. Just a second here. Complexity EF.
EF.
EF2L stomp. Next question.
EF. I think they need a roster change in the Complexity camp. 3D Max FlyQuest.
3D Mac or FlyQuest.
Mm,
I think they actually looked really good with Regali.
they did look good with Regali. Looked better.
I think Dexter's a really underrated caller, and now that he actually has an op that can do something, he can maneuver the pieces on the map a lot cleaner. And I noticed that on their nuke game against against MIBR.
Okay. I probably have FlyQuest. I kind of agree with you actually.
I think I'm going 3D Max.
3D Max. That's kind of a
Yeah.
toss up for me, but I did like the way they looked. Strawless MIBR.
Strawless, baby.
Straw is 2-1.
I'm a
If,
VR2
if
on
Device is
probably.
dropping 29 on Navi, it might be I was getting
He's
walled.
in safe
So
pocket.
even when you get stomped, somebody has to show up. So
Yeah.
Pain VP, I have Pain. I have Pain comfortably in this.
Pain,
Yeah.
pain.
Yep. Pain.
That's what
Saw
VP is
Gamer
gonna be feeling. I'm gonna go GL here.
Same. I'm going Gamer Legion. I
think
don't
so
like this new
too.
Saw lineup.
I don't like them at all, actually.
Mhm.
Okay. Wild card big. I'm going the NA boys.
The NA
I'm
boys.
going the NA boys.
I
the
wish I
Swedes?
could, but I'm gonna take big in 3 maps. They actually looked a lot. I was surprised how good their new pickups looked, and I think they can handle wildcard right now.
That's fair. I can't underestimate Stannis in a match that he's had a week and a half to prep for. I'm going wild
Here we
card.
go.
We said this at the major, and he actually did not do what we thought he was gonna. But that's okay.
Wait. You think wild card underperformed at the major?
No.
Pause?
I don't think they underperformed.
Pause?
I remember
What? Because they lost 13-10 to FaZe.
Yeah, but we literally
The team that
said-
finished second in the tournament.
No. Me and you both looked at Spenny and Tycho, and we said, "Listen, I'm not saying they're gonna win, but you give Stat a week, he might have Kerrigan's number," and he didn't. And last but not least, Furia versus Imperial FE. I have Imperial.
I think
have-
Fury is one of the teams that
I have
could
Fury.
fumble against Imperial.
There's definitely been moments where Furia has cold starts to tournaments as well as just looks bad. So it's doable. I think Furia will prevail.
Honestly, which one? Oh, they don't have any Brazilians. I was gonna say, like, after this game, drop Cello, pick up one of the Imperial players. We might have something cooking there.
I think
we can quickly talk about upper quarterfinals the way we picked it, if you want to rifle through it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's say we picked Liquid
So
EF.
Liquid
was
EF.
yeah, we're going EF there, and if we disagree, you're just coping. I think that's
Liquid.
a comfortable EF win.
Liquid.
Yeah,
We're
put
not
their
Mouz.
guard down. They're like,
Zontar is going to have a bad game.
they're celebrating and shit. They still run off that high.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
I'm probably going EF in 3. EF in 3.
Okay. I'm going EF with a comfortable 2-0 unless JKS learns how to pick up his mouse.
I'll do it. I'll go Liquid just so I can laugh at you guys.
Me and John both said FlyQuest, so we edged
Yeah, I
you
think
out there.
FlyQuest versus Astralis
versus
here.
Astralis.
I'm going to Astralis.
Going to Astralis reluctantly.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a cakewalk group for them.
Going FlyQuest.
Yeah, Mickey
Going the
Mouse
FlyQuest
group for
upset.
sure.
Pain
Wow.
versus Gamer Legion. I'm taking Pain.
A rematch.
comfortably.
That's a rematch, right?
Pain. Bigusera.
They played each other at a Blast?
Did they? I believe so.
Did they?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Let's see.
I actually don't recall.
Yeah, they did. They won 2-1.
Yeah, I'm
was
probably
the-
going
what were the
Pain.
match
I remember that
scores?
being a close series.
It was a
now.
13-11 map 3.
13-11 map 3. Wow, really? It was that close?
I'm still
Yeah.
going Pain.
I think
going
this
Pain
Gamer
2-0.
Legion team's really good despite not doing well
Pain
at Bounty for the
2-0.
most part.
Pain,
Uh,
they're gelling.
did we go wild card or big? I know I went wild card.
I went big.
I went wild card as well, so I guess we have to go with that.
All right, so it's wild card
Guys.
versus Imperial
Wild card
female.
Furia. I'm taking
No.
wild card.
Wild card Furia. I'd also take wild card.
Mm,
They don't have a cello on their team.
bro, like, why don't we take big? Big is gonna beat both those teams.
I think Big might get 2-0'd by wild card. I'd go that far.
Jesus, no, you wouldn't go that far.
I
Put
wouldn't
money
go
on
that far.
that.
Do we want to keep going into the next round?
No.
Okay.
I think
Okay. I think that's it.
now we're
We
testing
can
our
wrap
memory.
it up. So you guys are saying wild card is winning this bottom 4.
That's what
I'm
I
saying
have.
Big's
Yeah.
taking that.
There's
I'm
always an
saying-
upset, Spen. There's always an upset.
I'm saying Pain's taking that third one. And
I
then
can see
Astralis.
the one I'm iffy on is Gamer Legion could be Pain. Like I think that's a closer one than I.
I mean,
initially
for how
thought,
they
but
played last time, for sure.
I just like the way Pain concluded Blast.
Yeah.
Besides the fact
Yeah.
that they purposed, like they, never mind. I'm not getting into it, but like they won that series.
They
against Navi.
threw that game. Yeah.
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 All right. Anything else?
I think for Kato, it's
think
just
that's it.
play-ins, right? I
Yep.
think next episode we'll probably do our first of our season rankings.
Yeah.
Our first
Plan is
power rankings going
Yep.
into Katowice.
to do that before every major tournament for us, which to us is Kato, then the major, then Cologne, then the major. So
What are our yeah? I was gonna say, what are our thoughts on if it's a VRS tournament? It's a major, but there's some Fugazi VRS tournaments.
they're all
Nah,
VRS
we're
tournaments
just
at
gonna
this
do,
point. I think
like,
the
big
the
events.
S tier
S tier events.
S tier
tournaments.
events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I'm
do
bored with that.
our like top 15 or top 20 power rankings. We're all gonna list our power rankings, and then we're gonna get a thing to like average them out and see
Yeah.
what we have as a collective.
Yeah.
Sweet. Works for me. Alrighty, fellas.
Alrighty.
All right,
That
if
was
you guys
pretty
did
good.
enjoy this podcast, please don't leave without leaving a like, comment, and subscribing. I don't know what Spenny's doing with his face, but we're gonna ignore that. Yeah, let us know what you guys thought. Let us know if you guys have any comments, and let us know what you guys think about Premiere Season 2 coming up. You guys excited?
Oh,
or do you
yeah.
not give a damn
Oh.
like me. All right, peace.
All right. Peace.